we can do that.
So I just hit record. We're gonna get things started here. A few people might trickle in once we already get started, but super excited today to be learning about self-inquiry through natural practices with, I'm going to use the Americanized version of your name, Gerardo Marynissen, I think is how we're
Mar
pronouncing it. So that was
Marynissen.
Marynissen. Great.
Yes.
Um,
That
So we're super excited today to learn from your personal experiences and hopefully translate some of those to us to deepen our own practice. I'm going to actually spotlight you so the rest of the group can get even closer to the source. And I'll just
Thank
kind of
you.
hand it over to you. From what I understand, before we go into the chat, you'd like to lead us in a short exercise, and then we'll dive
Yes.
into the conversation.
Yes, thank you, thank you. So, yes, my official name is Geert Marynissen, for the ones that haven't heard it. I'm from Belgium. And I changed my name to Gerardo because of traveling. That worked a little bit better. So I before we start, I would love to guide you guys into a little exercise, just to come to this call. But right before we do that, I would really love to actually see everybody, if that is possible for you. If you can put on your camera, I really like to yeah, see each other. Thank you so much. Thank you. And if you're able to do this exercise, then I invite you now to just sit as comfortable as you can and close your eyes. First of all, we're going to take a few deep breaths in and deep breaths out. You're also definitely invited to close your eyes during this exercise. So that actually is will make it more profound. So we're going to take a few deep breaths in for ourselves. You just breathe into your belly, your chest, however you feel. And make a sigh out. And again. And a sigh. And now I would like you to just focus on the activities that you've done in the last few days, on the activities that you maybe have done just before this call. What have you been doing? Are there still things unfinished? What are you still going to do? And I invite you to feel that. How does this feel in your body? What have you done? What is unfinished? What do you still want to do? Feel that. And now through these feelings, I invite you to come to your breath more and more, to swiftly or smoothly bring your focus to your breath. Just feel the air going in and out of your lungs. Every pace is good. Doesn't need to be a big inhale or a small inhale. Just be aware on how you're breathing more and more. And now I invite you to feel the body. How is the body moving with your breath? What sensations are coming up right now? And keep feeling it. Now, I invite you to notice the biggest tension in your body. And you can maybe do a scan from your feet to your head and feel where is the biggest tension in your body. And with every breath, I invite you to breathe into that tension with every inhale. And with every exhale, bring that tension out, soften it. Maybe you need to relax some muscles to do that. Maybe you need to let go of some thoughts to do that. Maybe you need to let go of some belief you have to do that. Breathe in to it and breathe out and soften it. Now I invite you to, whenever you feel that the body is relaxed to you, but only when the body is fully relaxed, to open up your eyes again and find something enjoyable to look at. Find something comfortable to look at in your space. But stay aware of your breathing while you're doing it. See how you breathe. And take that enjoyable thing that you're looking at. Take it fully in. All the positive energies it has. The positive thoughts, feelings it brings to you. And with every breath in, you take it in. And with every breath out, you can actually bring these vibrations more out into this space. In and out, watching. And whenever you feel like the space is filled with your energy, with your positive vibrations, and you feel like you're here, I invite you to come back to the screen at your own pace and stay aware of your breathing in this moment in time while you keep doing it. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. Come back whenever you feel like still.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that
Thank you.
warm intro. I feel more present, more aware.
Mhm.
So grateful for that. Maybe we should incorporate that in every fireside chat. And let's just kind of dive right in with your personal story. I'd love to hear from you a little bit more about your background, really how you ended up in this place in your life.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that. Yes. Well, I can start like 6 years ago when I feel like when I felt like my mind, my body, everything outside for the outside world was like in order, you know, everything like in the eyes of society. I was a teacher. I was a computer technician at the school I worked. I had a house. I had everything, all materialistic. But for me, myself, I wasn't happy with what I was doing. And actually, I became so unhappy, and I had such bad habits and thoughts that I got a burnout. And it expressed itself in panic attacks during sleeping. Like 5 to 10 times I could wake up at night with a pounding heart, thinking I was dying. And at that point, it was for me the start of doing self-inquiry, so to say. And first I started with a little bit of meditation and yoga, and it helped me a lot to, to already get the physical uncomfortabilities down. But, still I was balancing on a cord for more than a year after these panic attacks started. And so I really started looking into, like, is this life? I'm 30. Do I have to do this for 30 more years, where I'm at right now? And because of that, I started to look for things to better myself, to understand myself better. And I came across ayahuasca on the internet, and I wanted to experience psychedelics before, but I never did. And ayahuasca was there, a documentary, and it was like everything that I was a little bit hoping for, because I wanted to go to Peru, see Machu Picchu. I always wanted to have a psychedelic trip, and it really interested me, like these cultures, these shamanic cultures, whenever I started looking up information about it. And so I went to Peru for ayahuasca, and in the ayahuasca retreat, we did, between ceremonies, we did sometimes breath work. And to be honest, the breath work was then more profound than the psychedelic experience, because I was so scared of psychedelics, I was so scared about ayahuasca, about the impact it would have also on my body. I still thought I had a bad heart that could give out at any moment. And I never took a full dose of ayahuasca in 6 ceremonies that were planned in 2 weeks' time. But the breath work that we did was so profound. And so after that retreat, I dove more into the breath work, but plant medicines kept coming in Peru. So I traveled through Peru, and I met a guy that did San Pedro hikes in the Sacred Valley. And I then helped him out a little bit with these hikes. So he was the front of the group, and I became the back, because the group can become a big harmonica in these valleys on medicine. And he learned me how to cook San Pedro. And yeah, so I'm very grateful that I got that knowledge as well. But at the end of my trip to Peru, there was somebody that offered a Bufo ceremony, the Bufo medicine. And when I took the Bufo medicine, when I had that experience, after that, it really felt like, wow, this comes together. Like, it's breathwork and Bufo. Those are the 2 tools that I really would like to dive deeper in. After Peru, I came back to Belgium for a few months, and then I went to Mexico for a 9-day retreat of the Bufo medicine, where I smoked Bufo 9 days in a row. And at that point in time, I was also trying to get some teachers to serve the medicine. And it was with the facilitators of this retreat first that I normally would I would follow them and learn. But after the retreat, they said that I wasn't ready. So, okay, I started to do a lot of self-search and diving into courses like conscious architecture, and how to become your authentic self, or my authentic self again. And I stayed in Mexico through these courses, and I also traveled then to Tulum, Mexico. I don't know, maybe some of you have been there or not. It's a magical place. But during this, I was also taking classes of breathwork to facilitate breathwork, and I offered to do breathwork at a hotel in Tulum that offered Bufo ceremonies as well. And I came in that hotel, and I said, like, yeah, I want to offer breathwork sessions, donation based. So and the only thing in return I ask is that I might be able to sit into ceremonies to learn how to facilitate, to learn the medicine, to work with it. And after an exchange of breathwork, and he offered me a Bufo ceremony, the facilitator of the hotel, I came out of that ceremony, and he said, like, you're ready, you can start and come serve here. which was actually a shock for me, because this was like 3 to 4 months after I had heard from other facilitators I wasn't ready. So yeah, it was a whole thing there for me as well. Like, am I really ready now or not? The ego, I want to do this, but am I really ready? And what can happen there? And people are going through a lot of things. Also, I heard about horror stories and stuff about the medicines, and I definitely didn't want to be responsible for a horror story. So but I took the jump to say yes to start offering the medicine there, and it went very fast because I could serve the medicine to 220 people in 8 months' time, which is I whenever I talk to other facilitators in the Bufo, they really had to do a lot more time. I work a lot more with the medicine to serve that amount of people. But from that point on, yeah, I always had the medicine with me, and I'm offering this to people that feel called to do this medicine. But the breathwork definitely was the second tool that I feel like these are equally powerful, or even the breath is more powerful in my opinion. But yeah, ever since then I'm helping people to do self-inquiry through these techniques that that offer a space for yourself to get to know yourself better. Yeah.
So what does this term self-inquiry really mean? Can you help us define it?
Yes, definitely. So for me, also everything that I'm saying right now is from my perspective. Don't believe everything I say, I would say. Just listen to the things that resonate, take that from me, and if something doesn't resonate, it probably comes in another way to you. But self-inquiry to me is when somebody consciously chooses to practice, or to practice, or to take an action to dive deeper into yourself, to get to know yourself better, and to bring that thing that you then understand about yourself also outside, to become the best version of yourself, to honestly and authentically being able to express yourself in any given situation. Yeah.
And how do you define the self, if I can ask?
Well, how do I find the self? The self is, well, there are so many ways to look at this, but I would say, from my perspective, this is what I believe. But I believe that when we are talking about the soul, I believe that everybody has intrinsically the same soul inside of them. We are just all a unique expression of that soul, and the self is the soul that we have inside. And this is also why we would talk about like the Holy Trinity, but I would say body, mind, and soul. And so yeah, self-inquiry inquiry is bring back the mind. I bring back balance between the mind and the body, so the soul can express itself authentically and fully. Yeah.
Beautiful. I haven't heard that exact definition before. So for those of us on the call who aren't familiar with Bufo, can you share a little bit more about its origins and just kind of what it does to the mind and the body?
Yeah.
And the soul?
Oh, yes, definitely. So yeah, the Bufo medicine is a psychedelic. This is poison or venom that comes from a toad, a big toad that lives in the Sonora Desert. And so the venom that it secretes, is this the right word? It contains 5-MeO-DMT when you vaporize that venom. So when they take where does it originate from? So the Bufo, according to some histories, the Siri tribe in the Sonora Desert in Mexico, they are the first ones that were working with the medicine knowingly before actually the manual came up in the 60s that explained how to vaporize the Bufo. So in Mexico, the series, they were working with this medicine, and when I spoke to the elders, they said that they would smoke it with tobacco, like you would roll a mixed joint, so to say, like with tobacco or marijuana. They would do the same, but then instead of marijuana or cannabis, they use the Bufo in there, and that gives some that can give some effects, transcendental effects. But really, the effect of the Bufo now is more strong when we vaporize it, because it releases a molecule which is called the cod molecule. It's 5-MeO-DMT. And this is also a bit different from the regular DMT that you find in ayahuasca or changa. So let's see, there's so many ways I can go now. The Bufo, so this medicine, now it gets taken from the toad and it gets put onto a flat space or a glass, I would say, and then they dry it in the sun, and you need like a very little part of it. It's 50 to 100 micrograms is more than enough to really take you away. And why is it called a God molecule? It's called a God molecule because a lot of people express like they witness a death and a rebirth in this psychedelic trip, or they can release something energetically, like the death of an energy. So they create new space for new energy to take in. Or they can go to completely white, heaven completely dark. There is only your journey whenever you take this medicine. Everybody has a different journey and is so unique to yourself. So let's see, maybe, yeah, a question would be...
Yeah, so I mean, maybe you can just kind of share from your subjective experience, because and you got to see a lot of people go through the journey as
Okay.
well. What are some patterns, and do you think there's any symbolism around the fact that it comes from a toad, or is it just arbitrary that it just happens to be, this reptile or amphibian, sorry,
Yeah.
that is responsible for
Okay.
this medicine?
Well, there is it's really curious. Thank you for this question. Yeah, it is a really mysterious animal, because this is the only animal as of yet known that gives this molecule to that secretes this molecule, that where we can take this molecule from. This molecule is also in plants, but the effects of the toad is so much different than with plant medicine. And so what's curious about this toad is that this toad lives actually 9 months underground and only comes up above grounds 3 months. It's between May and August, September. It depends on the rain in the Sonora Desert. So only when it rains, it comes up, and then it can like reproduce itself, and then it goes back into hibernation. This is also there is a kind of symbology to it, to the series and to other people. Like it stays 9 months underground, so the medicine takes up energy from the earth, natural energy, and that energy gets stored in there for 9 months, and then it comes up, gives the medicine off, and you're taking really grounded energy. I believe like it's like duality though, because the trips are so far, like the trips feel like so ungrounded, but it is to come back to earth, come back to yourself, to your grounded self, when the medicine is used properly. Yeah. And so what are things that can happen, or is there another question?
I meant, hold on one second. I just made the wrong, oh, here we go, okay. No, I was just wondering about the patterns that you've seen, both in yourself and in some of the
Yeah.
other people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So when somebody takes the medicine, there are a few things that can happen. First of all, most of the time, the what I see the most is that people take the medicine and they go into peaceful state. They go in there and they lose control of the body, but most of the time this is soft. Most of the time is soft. They roll around, and then after a while, emotions come up and crying or screaming. Then there are also sometimes when energies have been stored in the body, there are a lot of people that are starting to shake very, very hard. So there are more intense ceremonies as well, where people start to shake and rapidly breathing. And this is also why I'm very happy that I took a breathwork course, because the breath also in there, yeah, it changes the states of people in the medicine. Um, and you got the screamers, people. This is what I am personally. When I take the medicine, I lay back, and at one point I just scream like the loudest scream I can possibly make. And most of the time I can't do it like myself. If I would scream now, I can't do that scream when I do it on the medicine. um and yeah, there's also sometimes purging. So people that, but with the Bufo medicine, it's not like ayahuasca. Like if people are known with are known about if you know ayahuasca, it's a purging medicine. So ayahuasca cleans like your body, but it also brings back, energetically brings out a lot of stuff, and you vomit most of the time because of it. Or you have to go to the number two, which is also very very, very intense sometimes on ayahuasca. But with Bufo, it's more slime that is created. And I perceive that most of the time this is energetically stored, what people haven't been expressing. They couldn't express, and it comes out, and it's deblocking actually the throat again to speak more freely. What are other things? There are some ceremonies are very, very intense, where people really start rolling around, screaming, not knowing where they are, and going through fear. So those are very intense ceremonies. Or it looks like they're going through fear. That's also sometimes the thing. The body and the expression is going through fear, but actually inside they are in a peaceful, blissful, heavenly state. They don't even remember that they were like rolling around like that. So and some people open their eyes and start interacting on the medicine with their environment. And I have happened this only once in 250 ceremonies, but I had one that start running away on the street. And yeah, so it's a very powerful medicine, and whatever needs to happen will happen. Yeah.
Now, can we tie in breath work a little bit more? So,
Hmm.
are you able to access anything close to these states just through the power of the breath, or is breath work just a tool for you to maybe have more control over the experience, or to
Hmm.
reduce the chances of a bad experience? Just help us understand the
Yeah.
relationship.
Well, I would say all of the above. Yes, because this is why for me breathwork is one of the most powerful medicines in the world. We always have it, and we take the breath in any situation. Our breath has our breath is there. Um, uh, whenever you're afraid or something, you stop the breath. Whenever we have sex, there is a rhythm in our breathing that conjure up feelings and body sensations. um and the thing is with the breath, whenever you're conscious about it, it's change. It can change. Whenever you're conscious about it, it's growth. Whenever it's subconscious, to me, it is what is. Um, so the breath, yes, you can reach those states. With I looked the first thing that I looked into in breathwork was holotropic breathwork, and maybe people are familiar with that. But this is a very intensive breathwork. They use very intense music to get you into an intensive rhythm of breathing, and this is most of the time for hours, sometimes 3-hour sessions of holotropic. And in those sessions, you also have these feelings sometimes that they are overwhelming you, and people start screaming, people start shaking, taking poses, yoga poses that they even never, maybe they'd never done yoga before, but they do these poses during the breath work. A thing with breath work is that what I like, and is why I offer this as well, is because it's a bit more regulated. You can come down from breath work faster. Like when you take a psychedelic medicine, you're in for the ride, and you can't untake it anymore. While with the breath, whenever you go back into another kind of rhythm, you can regulate that state for yourself. So this is the difference between psychedelics and breath work. I also delve into smoking marijuana or cannabis together with breath work. And those were, to me, I could compare this to ayahuasca kind of ceremonies, because it's so, the breath, when we use it correctly, we can dive so deep into ourselves, into our feelings, into the here and the now. And then when we are consciously looking at our thoughts and beliefs while we're doing these breathwork techniques, then we can sometimes really see that our beliefs are not resonating with what we're feeling, or we believe something, and that belief is just holding on to something that is holding our true self back. And then all of a sudden you just need to cry, or you need to scream, or you need to hit pillows out of anger or frustration to release that energy. And from that point you switch, and from that point, from my perspective, that's the self inquiry that we do then with these techniques, is it shifts something in ourselves, so we then can learn how to be ourselves more in that or after that experience. Yeah.
Love that. So just to the audience, now would be a great time if you have any questions to start dropping them in the chat, as we'll move after this next question or two into more of an open Q&A. This is just more technical, but how long does a Bufo journey typically last?
Most of the time it's like 15 minutes to an hour. Yeah.
A pretty long.
Most of the time people
range.
Sorry?
It's a pretty wide range.
Yeah, and it's very interesting also that I haven't been able to pinpoint why for some people longer or not. The only thing I noticed, and when I talk to people, is like when you have a very fast metabolism, most of the time it is shorter. I do believe you can go on that, but there are people then also that say I have a fast metabolism, and they stay in there for an hour. It's and also it's the dosage is, I say, between 50 and 100. Most of the time I aim for 75, and I actually let a little bit the spirit decides, like if the chunk is higher than 75, I give that. If it's just a little bit lower than 75, or if it's lower, then I give that, because I have seen like big strong men on a 50 going all out, and then some a really tiny person doing 100, and it was, they were still unsure if they broke through. Yeah, it really depends. So my mantra during all of this is like the medicine gives you what you need, and it's not up to me or to you or to anyone. It just gives you what you need. Yeah.
Cool. I'm gonna keep asking questions until
Sure. Yeah.
the audience chimes in if they'd like, or maybe I'm just
Hmm.
covering all the bases, but probably not. Um, you know, first question, not the first question, but another question is like, what happens with a 20 microgram or a microdose? You know, is there
Hmm.
anything that you feel with a smaller dose, or is it only at a certain level that you can perceive it? Do people microdose Bufo like
Hmm.
in the morning, just
Yeah. Yeah.
10
Yeah.
micrograms in their bloodstream? What's kind of the effects of smaller amounts?
Hmm.
And then
Um.
in
Oh
the
yeah.
same question, what's the effect of like 150 or 200? Can you die? You know, can you
Oh,
actually
mm.
die from too much of this?
Okay. Oh, thank you. So, let me first answer that one. This is a big misconception that a lot of people have, I believe, in psychedelics. There is actually no risk of overdosing with natural psychedelics. Um, I have to put that into context. If you're taking around the how do I say around well around huh
Recommended?
how do I yeah, you have a recommended dose, you have a heroic dose if you go to mushrooms. Um, but even though with mushrooms, if you go even more over the heroic dose, it's not you the trip will just take longer and might be way more intense. But normally it doesn't, you don't overdose, you don't die from psychedelics.
Not
It's
lethal.
just
Not lethal.
not lethal. But of course, if you eat a kilo of mushrooms, I don't know what that's gonna do to your body. Or
You
it's
become
it's
a
the same
mushroom.
with,
You literally
yeah,
turn.
right. So with the same is with Bufo. Like you take 50 to 100 micrograms, and I heard from somebody that it is possible to die with Bufo, but you have to smoke 5 grams. So that's the thing. But when you're yeah, when you're holding yourself onto the recommended dosages, or even if you go above it, there is not merely risks of dying from the medicine. Most deaths on psychedelics happens because people perceive the world differently, and they think they can fly and they jump out of a window. They perceive the world as I like it's the same like maybe a bungee jump, like the fear. That's also the fear gets so strong that something, if you have a condition, it comes up. But it's not the psychedelic that kills you, or that you die from. Um, and to go lower, you said the microdosing. There are people that microdose Bufo. Um, the but it's very hard though. Sometimes a 20 can get you into a full journey with the Bufo. It's very, very hard. So most of the time a microdose, I believe, is 10 micrograms. And when 10 to 20 micrograms is a microdose for Bufo, but still it is a time to set aside for yourself, I would say. It's not like microdosing on mushrooms, and you can, and mushrooms form your reality, better, and you can go through life still with new insights. With DMT, it's a bit harder to do that. But you can do it. There are people doing it in the morning, taking a Bufo, and that comes also most of the time down between 15 minutes to 30 minutes. So yeah, and but it is possible to microdose it. One thing I always say though with the medicines, and this is something I'm very strong for, is that we use these medicines to try to live a most authentic life without any medicines, without anything from outside. And that's why, for me, the breath is the most powerful medicine, because we can use the breath to regulate ourselves. Yeah, in every
A good,
situation. Yeah.
good transition into Joseph's question, which is how do you use
Oh,
breath
yeah.
work on a daily basis for self-inquiry and general wellness?
That's a good question. Thank you. So I came back to Belgium since a month or two, and I have to say that this is less. But I went every morning to a sunrise when I was in Mexico. Every morning to the sunrise, and I started to do a breathwork that I like. And with breathwork, this is what I would share with everybody: is if you want to dive deep into yourself with breathwork, it's not a very difficult technique. It's finding a rhythm that is a little bit faster than normal for yourself. You try to minimize or even cut out the pauses between the in and the exhales, and you keep doing that. You keep focusing on that cycle. What I do is I find music that has a rhythm that I like, and most of the time this is a music set. Sometimes this can be a good house set if I want to go deep. Sometimes it's a slower set if I want to do it more peaceful. But I try to keep the rhythm of the music, so I play with my breath then, and in and out, and yeah, and you're gonna notice there are body sensations coming up in that time when you're doing this, and it's the most important thing is through the body sensations and through the thoughts that are coming up, you keep focusing on that cycle, breathing in and out, and at one point your body is going to take over this breathing, and you are starting to notice like, oh, I've been thinking, or I'm in this, or I feel this, and oh, but I'm still breathing like this. And a to go more on the question though, is that the inquiry through breathwork and through any journey, in my opinion, is to set a good intention why you do this. So I did this daily breath work, but there were days where I didn't have an intention, and then the breath work was really good to release things, or to come back to myself in the here and the now. But to really understand myself, I always needed a kind of intention to go in. And another thing that I learned about intentions is that you don't even have to put these intentions into words. It's better to feel your intention. Like, self-inquiry, we only do it most of the time. We do it when things are out of balance in life, when we are living life and everything is in harmony and in balance. We don't think about self-inquiry because we are just living, we are just being our life. But when things are out of balance, then we have a kind of belief on why it's out of balance. And when we think about that belief, we also can feel that. We can feel it in our body, and we can feel the emotions, the sensations that belief brings up. And to set an intention before a journey is to focus on this belief that you have, and focus on the emotions that it brings up and the sensations, and then set the intention that you're doing this breath work, you're doing this psychedelic medicine to understand this sensation more. Why do I believe it, or why do I feel like this? And then just keep breathing or going through the journey with psychedelics with this intention. And it's very powerful, setting intentions, because it's also an anchor most of the time in your psychedelic trip and in your breathwork trip, when things become overwhelming, when body sensations become overwhelming, when you see things or when you feel things, and when it gets intense most of the time, this is why you set that intention, and you have to feel it, and then you go through it most of the time, and you come back here with a little bit more knowledge or relief. Yeah.
You said. So just to extend on that, Joseph's also wondering, back to, kind of these ceremonies, how do you prepare and integrate? Because realizations and experiences are very overwhelming. So how do you practically apply and work, what comes up in these ceremonies into your life?
Yeah. Thank you so much. This is a very, very good question. So this day, I definitely go further with the intention here. once you start doing everything in life with intention, you learn more. It's always opening up for growth. So preparation, especially before plant medicine or psychedelic medicine, I would say, is prepare yourself. Eat more pure food, as close as nature intended to make it. Eat more pure and fresh food. Leave all the prepared foods. Also, most of the time for Bufo, but every psychedelic has a different has a kind of different dieta. Sometimes it's called. I don't know if people know this, but dieta, it means that you prepare yourself to take the medicine. And the biggest thing is the intention, right? I'm going to prepare myself for this medicine because the spirits behind this medicine, they are listening, they are watching before you take it. They might even come in your dreams. Just like I heard about people, a lot of people actually saying that they had dreams before they ever took Bufo, that they dreamt about a toad when they set the intention to come to the medicine. So how do you prepare? Especially a diet. Eat as pure as you can. Sleep. I sleep very well, and still do body exercise so you can keep everything going smoothly. But for Bufo, it is very important to fast. Let's see, like 10 hours before the ceremony. Most of the time I do ceremonies in the morning at 9, so I ask people to stop eating at 10 p.m. at night, so at least 8 hours before ceremony. I would say you eat nothing anymore. Also, you don't drink too much, because when you purge, this might come out. If you choose to fast longer, do intermittent fasting before a ceremony, that's really good because it will clean your body. It will open up the body, the ways to take in the medicine better, and your experiences will just be more enhanced through doing that. Another way to prepare is keeping a journal or start writing. Like, I'm going to this medicine in a week. This is how I feel about the medicine right now. This is why I do the medicine. So it's kind of doing the self-inquiry about your intention with the medicine. So you're really clear on why you're doing it. Once you have the why very clear, healing takes place. Most of the time, when healing doesn't take place is when people are like, oh, I want to have this experience in my life. I'm not sure why, but I just want to have it. And sometimes healing happens then, but sometimes also, these are most of the time the more intense ceremonies when people have not really a clue to why they're doing this, and then they all of a sudden fear kicks in, and they don't know why, because they have to feel something that actually will that actually will help them transcend that fear, but they're choosing to stay in the fear. So yeah, preparation, really important. Let's see if I haven't. Yeah, also look into medical things, like if you're unsure that you have any medical condition before you take the medicine, definitely go to a doctor or somebody to see if you're okay, that everything in the body is okay before you take that medicine. And also, if you're on medication before medicine, very important to see if you need to take that medication, if it can synergize with the medicine. Because for the Bufo and for all the DMT medicines out there, it's very important to stop MAOI inhibitors. So these are antidepressants. Very, very important to stop that, because the MAOI is actually blocking the DMT in the brain, and it really can cause brain damage. So very important that, yeah.
Then how about integration? After
Integration.
after the ceremony, you mentioned journaling, but are there any other ways to
Yes.
to, kind of bring it into your day-to-day life?
Yeah. Well, yeah, like you said as well, journaling is for me, it feels like one of the most profound or one of the most strongest tools to integrate journaling, because you solidify what you thought about the whole experience. You solidify what you experienced in there. You can read it again, all the thoughts that you have from the journey, after the journey, you can read it again, and you can get a kind of sequence, or you see the evolution that you have after you've taken the medicine. To integrate, well, with the Bufo medicine, normally after you take the medicine, and 1.5 hours after, you can just ride a car again. Although things, you might perceive things differently in life. Most of the time people say the volume button is turned down on life. So this is a good moment to integrate, like, more things that like, a lot of times it feels like things that bothered you before are not bothering you anymore in that state whenever you took the medicine. And you're going to notice that when these things are coming, you might feel that old sensation of that bothered me, but it's not bothering me yet, but I can choose to let it me bother again. So that's why the integration is really, integration is looking at these things that then bothered you, and then you can ask yourself, why did it bother me? And now I released energies before, and so why is it still, why could I jump into this bothering of that again? And then you're like, oh yeah, I believe that is not good for me. So if you're bothered with somebody doing that, it's like, oh yeah, that is not good with me, but my belief is that nobody should do it. And then you can let go of the belief that nobody should do it, and like, okay, I never will have to do that, and you can let it go that others are doing it. So yeah, and I wanted to say one more thing, like, integration is like, still keep eating healthy food, rest very well afterwards, and body exercise as well. Let all these new energies flow. Yeah.
Yeah, this has been very illuminating. And as we're just at the end of the time, maybe I'll end with a just more esoteric philosophical question, some food for thoughts for the audience and beyond, which is, you've been through these altered states of consciousness, these higher states of consciousness. You've had experiences with God and the source and the divine and all these terms for the same general thing. So when you really zoom out, how would you describe kind of what is beyond time and space? How would you describe kind of what is this three-dimensional existence, given what you've seen in kind of these higher states?
Yeah, thank you. Oh, well, to me, it's a journey of being here, like time, and it's a good philosophical question, like these states of God, and it's beautiful to be in there, but we do these things, I believe, to come back here and bring actually that kind of state that you can feel there, to bring it here and feel it constantly here. So that's, from my perspective, time and space are offering these experiences to really experience everything that exists, but then to come back here where you are, and really, to be honest, like, you can go as deep as nothing exists if I can't touch it even, and even the touch is then even questionable. But it's time is an illusion, because everything happens at the same time. That's the perspective that I have, and the only thing that is happening is growth from an awareness. And it is so beautiful to be one awareness, and then it all comes together, that this one awareness, whenever you're doing the self-inquiry, that you become that one unique awareness that offers another point of view to the other awarenesses. So we can, to be honest, we are one human soul. Yeah, but it's very
It's a
thank you for the
beautiful way to
question. Yeah.
close, and it's a hard question to put into words, or it's a hard question to
Yes,
answer
right.
in words. So thank you for
Yeah.
doing your best. Gerardo, thank you so
Thank
much
you for having me.
today. Thank you to the people who came out to witness this amazing conversation. And looking forward to many more deep conversations with the Grateful Giraffe community.
Wow, thank you. Yes, thank you so much for having me.